Hello, everyone. What I'm going to do today is give you a presentation and some information on the Spanish Golden Visa, which is a really sort of a growing topic which people are very interested in at the moment, which we'll come on to for sort of many reasons. My name's Sam Daines. I'm a senior wealth manager here at Holborn Assets. And this is a residency by investment program that we do here at Holborn. And as I say, there's a number of reasons why the Spanish Golden Visa is becoming very popular. There's been some changes to some of the other residency by investment programs in Europe, and a lot of people now are looking towards Spain for a number of reasons, which I will sort of come on to. Trying to keep ahead with technology, I've actually put a little QR code there at the bottom, which you should see. Now, all being well, if you have got your phone there and you scan that QR code, then that will actually take you to my personal diary. So if you wanted to book in a personal chat with regards to your own personal situation, because obviously this is an overview, then feel free to scan that QR code. If technology is not your thing, then at the end, there's also, you'll have all my details as well, my email, my WhatsApp, and also that QR code at the end as well. So before I go into the main slides, just to give you a bit of background in terms of myself. As I say, my name's Sam. I actually live here in Spain. So I've lived here in Spain for the last 5 years. I live down the south of Spain in a little place called Estepona, if you're familiar with the geography of Spain. So it's right down the south from where I live here. You can look across to Morocco from the beach here. So it's actually a lovely part of the country, constant sunshine, very, very hot at the moment as well. We have an office in Porto-Banús. So our Spanish office is in Porto-Banús, which is about 10-15 minute drive away from Estepona. So we have our physical office there where we service all our clients. As I say, in terms of my background, I'm a financial advisor. I worked in the UK for about 15, 16 years as a financial advisor for HSBC, Wesleyan Assurance and Nationwide Building Society. I made the move over here around 5 years ago. So I've been through the process of getting my residency over here, and I've gone through the sort of trials and tribulations that involves. The Spanish system can be a little bit cumbersome, but I've done it and I've gone through it, and obviously here to help other people do that. So I've been here for 5 years working for Holborn Assets. So no further ado, let's start in terms of the slides and what we'll go through today. So the agenda today is to give you a bit of background about Holborn Assets and Holborn Pass. So Holborn Assets is obviously the company that I work for here, and Holborn Pass is part of Holborn Assets, and that's the part of us that concentrates on residency and citizenship by investment. Okay, and that's not just Spain. We actually cover all different residency and citizenship programs. So that's from places like Greece, Malta, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, USA, UAE, Portugal. We've got the whole suite of residency and investment programs. But obviously, I'm concentrating here on Spain, and there's a number of reasons for that. Part of the reason is that I live here, and obviously I can vouch for what a lovely place it is to live. But also, it is becoming a very popular route to residency and to being an EU resident. So we'll talk a bit about residency by investment and what that means, what you need to do, and also specifically the Spanish Golden Visa program. So what's the process with regards to doing that, and what are the benefits in having that Spanish Golden Visa? And there are many. Some people may be looking, as I say, as a route to become an EU resident, to have the rights of somebody living in the EU. So that's your visa-free travel, getting away from that 90 and 180-day rule. And other people might genuinely be just wanting to live in Spain and have the benefits of the Spanish system when it comes to things such as healthcare, and the many other sort of benefits that come with living in such a nice climate that is Spain. And I'll also talk you through some real estate options. So obviously, this is a residency by investment program. So as part of that, you have to invest. And there are many routes to investment. And what we do is we look at what are the best routes to do that, and what are the most cost effective and safe ways of doing that. So I'll give you a few options around how that would work. And I will reiterate, obviously, this is generally quite a broad webinar. So your specific situations, we give free financial advice on this. So I can do a sit down meeting with any of you free of charge and go through your own personal situation. You can book into my diary, as I say, using the links. Right. So, Holborn Assets. If I start with Holborn Assets and who we are. So, Holborn Assets, we're a global wealth management firm. So, we were established in 1998. It's around 25 years ago. We're a British family firm, and we've now grown to having over 500 employees. We've won numerous industry awards because we very much pride ourselves on the advice that we give. All advisors that work here, including myself, are all fully qualified. And obviously, as part of Holborn Assets, we're talking today about residency, but we do all manners of financial advice. So whether that's from investments, whether that's pensions, whether it's insurances, whether it's mortgages, we cover the whole suite. So anybody looking to move to Spain, not only do we provide the residency by investment program, but we can actually act as your financial advisor here. And furthermore, we've actually got over 20 international offices, including obviously the one here in Spain. And that includes offices in the UK, in Portugal, South Africa, Dubai. So we basically position ourselves globally so that we can provide financial advice when people move around the globe, because, you know, the way the world is now, people don't necessarily stay in one place. So the idea of how we work is that we can provide that ongoing financial advice when people move around. But obviously today we're talking about Spain. We've got over 20,000 clients worldwide. I think it's up to about 25,000 now, and we're rated 5-star on Trustpilot as well. So it just gives you a background as us as a firm. But what happened is around sort of 5 or 6 years ago, a lot of clients that we were speaking to were very interested in residency by investment. So having the benefits of being a resident or a citizen of a country, whilst also making an investment, which is a good investment. So this is where I was stressed the point, Holborn, and how we work. The investment is the priority. So when we're looking at what you need to do to get the benefits of EU residency or citizenship, or outside the EU if it's a different program, investment is our priority, and that is our history. It's about having the best investments for our clients. In terms of the Golden Visa program, we've processed over 1,000 applications now in all the different schemes around the world. Particularly at the moment, Portugal has been incredibly popular, but I'll come on to why that's maybe going to be less so, and maybe why people are going over to Spain shortly. But yeah, so we've done over 1,000 applications, and we've had 100% success rate. And again, that means a lot, because obviously when you come to apply for these programs, you don't just want to be putting in applications that won't go through. We make sure that it's done correctly and it's done properly, and that we get it through. And that is our priority to the clients that we have. So that's a little bit about us. As I say, you can look online for us. You can see a lot of the reviews from us, and I think they will speak for themselves. So in terms of our Golden Visa program, how that works and what we do for our clients. So I'm talking here about Spain, but obviously this applies to any of the residency programs that we do. Effectively, we offer a full service. So we are a one-stop shop from the beginning and the end of the Golden Visa process. So what that does, a bit of a busy slide here, but if I just sort of go through it briefly, is that when you come to apply or look to become a resident, we will prepare all of your residence permit applications. We complete them all for you. It's just for you to sign. We will do the rest. We will then review these applications, and we'll submit them on your behalf, okay? So again, we'll make sure that is right and that everything is done correctly. And I will at this point speak from experience, because anybody that's gone through the Spanish system, or maybe is living here in Spain at the moment, or has had to get anything done that involves administration, Spain can be difficult. So I got my residency cards about 2 years ago. And I know the amount of toing and froing I had to do in terms of going to get this sorted. There's going in to get your photographs done. There's various forms you have to fill out, and then inevitably there'll be some sort of mistake, and then you have to get that rectified. So in relation to that, we will do everything. Obviously, when it comes to looking at what are the best ways to invest to get your Golden Visa, well, this is our job. We will advise you about these real estate opportunities. So what we've done is we've gone out into the market and we've looked what are the best opportunities for our clients. And we've done all the due diligence on these projects and on these developers to make sure that they have all their books in order, that they are reliable, and that we are advising the best products to our clients. We obviously negotiate with these property developers to get the best possible prices on them. Obviously, when you look at the size of us as a company, we are very, very large. We're able to actually get some incredibly good deals with these property developers. And obviously, part of that, going back to the due diligence, is to review all these property records of these selected properties. So once we've done that, and let's say we've identified what you're interested in terms of the opportunity, then we review all the property records, prepare the sales agreements between you and the owner, the developer. So we get all that done on your behalf. We'll be present at any public deeds office on your behalf, so we can do that for you. So a lot of this doesn't actually involve you doing anything other than sitting and relaxing, because it's us doing this for you. The one thing you do need to do with the Spanish Golden Visa program is at some point, not straight away, but you will need to submit fingerprints and official photographs at government facilities. That can actually be done outside of Spain as well, but we can go into more detail about that. But we would do that in a company on your behalf as well, particularly with a language that is obviously very useful. With regards to Spain, we can help you open a Spanish bank account as well. You don't actually have to have a Spanish bank account, but for obvious reasons, if you're living here, it is useful to have one. So we can help do all that for you. We can get your personal tax number for you and all of the applicants that are on your application, as we come on to, because as part of your application, you can tag on other people. So you can have your children, you can have your parents, your spouse, all can be on your application. So we would get that tax number for you and assist with the local tax representative. We'll get your residency permit approved, similar to this one here. We'll collect the cards and we deliver them to you. Now, the next one's really interesting. As part of having an investment in Spain, you've got to be careful that tax and every other element of this investment is done correctly. Well, as part of our one-stop shop, if you like, is we would do all that on your behalf. We submit your annual tax returns, not just once. We would do it on an annual basis. We'll solve any property problems you'll have. So we will manage that property for you, so you don't have to do anything. We'll get your rental income for you. And then with regards to residency permits, you have to renew them. So normally with the Spanish Golden Visa, initially it's given to you for 3 years. You then renew it and you get 5 years. You then renew it again and you get another 5 years. So all part of this process, we will continue to renew that for you. And if you want to then become a citizen of Spain, which I'll come on to, we will help you do that as well. And there is a number of caveats to becoming a citizen, and I will explain the difference, but we would do that. So long story long, with this case, is that we basically do everything for you. And there's so many parts of this process, but we've devised it really to make everything as simple and as easy as possible for you, whilst we do all the hard work in getting everything approved and make sure it is done correctly. Okay, so the citizenship and residency by investment. So at this point, I'll explain, and I don't know, you might be aware or you may not be. But the citizenship and residency are two very different things. Now, outside of the EU, there are a lot of programs, so places like St. Kitts, St. Lucia, some of these sort of Caribbean programs. They tend to do a citizenship by investment, which basically means you invest a certain amount of money or a certain business, depends what the investment is. Then you become a citizen, and a citizen essentially is to become a passport holder of that country. So that it gives you all the rights as if you were born in that country. Essentially, you are a citizen of that country. In the EU, they don't tend to do a citizenship program. It tends to be a residency program. So a residency gives you pretty much the same rights, bar a few. You are a resident of that country. So you can be a citizen of, for example, in my case, the UK, and you can be a resident of Spain. So what would happen with EU programs? They tend to be residency programs, but after a period of time, you can change that into becoming a citizen of that country, should you so wish. Some cases people don't necessarily want to or don't need to, but you can do. Okay, so that's the difference between citizenship and residency. And I think it's on the next slide. I'll give you some examples of the different programs that are out there that we do and the difference between citizenship and residency. But we'll come on to residency and what that gives you as a benefit. And there are a lot of benefits to the residency program. So in order to do citizenship or residency by investment, you're effectively investing into that foreign country through a number of different methods. So method number one is you purchase real estate. So in return for buying a certain amount of real estate, you would then be given the residency or citizenship by that country. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. And that is by far the most popular way of doing it because it tends to be the cheapest way of doing it, whilst also being a good investment. Number two, you can donate to that country. So quite simply means you give that country some money, and in return for that, you would get your citizenship or residency. For obvious reasons, it's not one of the most popular ways of doing it because there is no investment there. So as a company like ourselves, where we deal with investments, getting the best investments, obviously doing a donation isn't really an investment. So it's not something we would look at, but it is an option. The next one is business. So you invest within a business and run a business. It's normally got minimum criteria. So you have to have a certain amount of staff, a certain amount of turnover. You have to put a certain amount of money in there. So it's a higher risk really in a lot of respects. And it's a harder thing to do. But for some people, naturally through their business, that may be the way that they would go. With regards to funds, you can actually invest into a bank account or into particular funds in that country. So sort of more of a traditional investment. And in return, you would be given citizenship or residency. However, the criteria for that tends to be high and a lot higher than the real estate option. So again, tends to be less popular. Bonds, so things such as government bonds. So by investing into government bonds of that country, you can get your citizenship or residency. Again, not as popular because that's even higher than the funds investments or the real estate investments. So again, tends to be not as popular. But I'll come on to the amounts in Spain sort of shortly. But just to break it down, they're the different ways that you can invest to get your golden visa or your citizenship. So as I sort of touched on this, residency by investment. So that's basically in exchange for contribution, you will obtain a residency permit similar to this one to live and work in that particular country. So you can live, you can work, you can retire in that country, and you can have the benefits that you would have by being a citizen of that country in return for giving that money to that particular place. Or you go the citizenship route. You can't do that in EU because there'll be a minimum amount of time you have to be a resident before you can be a citizen. But it's the same principle. You invest and thus you are given that citizenship. So that's the difference between the two different types of ways you can invest and being a resident or a citizen. Now, the next slide is an incredibly busy slide. And I will explain this. This is really all the different countries that we will do a citizenship or residency program for. So on the left-hand side are citizenship programs. So as I say, this is where you're going to invest money, whether that be in property or a traditional investment. And in return, you can become a citizen of that country, effectively a passport holder. So you've got Antigua there, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, Malta, Turkey. And all of these, depending on the amount of time, so for example, Antigua, St. Lucia, 4 months, Dominica, 4 months, but Malta or Turkey are Malta is a bit longer at 14 months. And there's the different amounts you would have to invest. But obviously, we're not going down that route now because we're concentrating on Spain. But this is a chart that's there. We actually do all of these different programs. But as you can see, to the left are citizenship programs, and they are the programs that tend to be outside of Europe. With regards to the residency programs, where they are here on the right-hand side. So the residency programs, we've got Malta, Portugal, Greece, USA, Spain, and United Arab Emirates. Now, on the top line here, quite importantly, it says time to citizenship. So as you can see there, Portugal, Greece, USA, and Spain have a different amount of time before you can actually become a citizen. So by being a resident for that period of time, you can become a citizen. Now, Portugal is 5 years, Greece is 7 years, USA is 5 years, and Spain is 10 years. So Spain actually has a longer period of time before you can actually apply to be a citizen. However, and this is very important to some people, in some situations, you can actually become a citizen within only 2 years in Spain. It's the quickest route to citizenship of anywhere in Europe. And that depends on effectively the country of the applicant. So any ex-Spanish colonies, which is on the next slide or slide after. So we're talking places like Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, these sort of places. And there's a long list of them. If any of the applicants are from that country, and not all of the applicants have to be, for any of them, then actually you can change your residency into citizenship within only 2 years. Otherwise, it's 10 years. Now, in terms of the amounts you have to invest, and again, we'll come on to this in relation to Spain. Spain is 500,000 in property. Okay, that's how much you have to invest in property, and that's the cheapest investment program that you can do in terms of Spain. So when it's investing in funds or government bonds, you have to put a lot more in. Okay, but property is the cheapest way of doing it. We've actually devised a scheme where you can do it for as little as 350,000, so not even the 500,000. So although 500,000 is a rule, we've actually developed our own way of doing it where you can do it for as little as 350,000, which I'll come on to. So we've actually made it easier for people. Traditionally, Portugal has been the most popular. So with Portugal, you could actually become a Portuguese resident for as little as 280,000. However, the government has withdrawn, or not withdrawn, they're changing the scheme now as we speak. They've withdrawn it in its current form. And there's a lot of reasons why this is the case, but mainly it's because when people start investing in property into a particular country, the argument for the people that live in that country is you can affect house prices. Now, whether that's actually economically true or not is another matter. But the idea is a lot of people invest in, foreign people as such, investing money into a particular country, you can drive up house prices. So under pressure, the Portuguese government has said, okay, we're not doing it for 280,000 anymore. We don't know what it's going to be in Portugal, but it's likely to turn out to be more like the 500,000, which is what it is in Spain. USA is higher, UAE is higher. So Spain now is going to be something that people are going to look at because it's actually obviously a very nice country to live in, but it's also got a lot of benefits now to go the Spanish route and not the Portuguese route for EU residency. However, a lot of people just want to live in Spain anyway. Okay, so that's the different rules there. Now, as I say, there's lots of different parts to this slide. You really have to look at them. We can always talk through these with you, but just to sort of run through it briefly, is with Spain, if you're going to apply to be a Spanish Golden Visa holder, you can tag your children onto there, you can tag your parents onto there, obviously your spouses. So your application for you can actually include sort of 5-6 different people if you want to. And by doing that, you've given all of them the benefit of the Spanish Golden Visa and everything that comes with that. So as I say, people can be tagged onto it. Spain is particularly good at that. So there you go. That's that particular slide. So what I'll do is I'll come on to some of this a bit later. But if we talk about why would we look at Spain? Now, I'd imagine a lot of you are here because you have a connection with Spain. And as I say, I chose Spain to live because it is a beautiful country to live in. The quality of life is fantastic. And in fact, it's rated #1 for quality of life worldwide. And anybody that's been here, anyone that's lived here will know why that is. You know, it's obviously beautiful weather. The people are really, really nice. The general, just the way life is here is very laid back. It's just a very healthy place to live. You live a very healthy lifestyle. It's very much outdoors. So obviously that speaks to itself into why Spain. And if you've ever been here, you will know that. It's actually the second most visited country by international tourists. I don't think I've met many people that have not actually ever been to Spain. Very, very popular, again, for obvious reasons. It's got the weather. And this lovely thing about Spain is obviously you've got the south of Spain, which is very different from the north of Spain, but both are so very, very nice in their own way. It's got the fourth biggest economy in the EU and actually 14th in the world. So it's a very sort of strong country in terms of the economy. So people feel very safe here, whether that's a business or whether it's retirement or just generally living. Boasts the 5th best country to live in the world as well, 6th best retirement destination, and it's got the 7th best public healthcare system. Again, very important for people living anywhere, as you want to know where you live has a good healthcare system. With the Spanish Golden Visa, you become part of that healthcare system. So, for example, my partner, her parents live here. They've been here for a fair amount of time now, and they use the healthcare system here, and it is incredibly good. It's on a par with a lot of, the UK, for example, where I'm from. It's a very strong healthcare system. You have a lot of benefits in terms of why Spain. But this would be very personal to you anyway, because no doubt you're watching this for a reason. You're interested in Spain because you've been here and you've seen what it's like. The Spanish Golden Visa. So we're talking now specifically about the Golden Visa in Spain. Okay, so it started in 2013. So it's been running about 10 years now. They've had over 9,000 Golden Visa applications approved. So there's been lots of Golden Visa applications that have gone through. And I will stress at this point, be really aware of this, okay, because the Spain are now going forward, just gone through elections. One thing I think will be looked at is Golden Visa programs. because similar to what's happened in Portugal, after a period of time, they will look at programs like this and think, actually, is it economically good for us to continue to do this? And there could be lots of pressure from the opposing parties or the people even to think that we don't want people coming in. So be wary if it's something you're interested in, particularly with Spain. Be looking at it now. Don't be waiting if it's something you want to do, because we don't know how long it'll be there for. And Portugal is a classic example of that. So far in the Golden Visa scheme, it's raised 3.5 billion in terms of foreign direct investments. You can see there how much money it's actually raising for the economy as well. Now, the good thing about the Spanish Golden Visa is you don't need to spend time in Spain. Now, obviously, most of the time you want to spend time in Spain because it's a lovely country, but you don't need to. There is no minimum stay requirements in Spain. So if you get the holding asset you need for your Golden Visa, you can come and go as you like. Okay, you can spend. You don't have the 90 and 180-day rule that everyone talks about. You can move freely amongst the Schengen areas, which we'll come on to, but you don't need to spend time in Spain. But you will remain a Spanish Golden Visa and a resident of Spain. So it's a very good scheme. That's not the same with a lot of the other schemes. You actually have to spend time there. So even people thinking of this for the future, becoming a Spanish resident, if you do something now, you've got that residency card, you're in the system, you're here. So again, think about it from that perspective. Any non-EU citizen can apply, as long as you've got no criminal record. I think misdemeanors would be okay, but I mean, we're talking sort of serious criminal records. Obviously, you can't apply. But apart from that, any non-EU citizen can, and you can include your spouse, your children, and your parents over the age of 65 on your application. Now, we're very much experts in this, because obviously there's lots of little caveats and little things that you have to be wary of when trying to add children, spouses, and parents and things like that onto any application. We know exactly what you need to do to get these through to make sure that they will be accepted. And then you're not going to go down part way down the line and find out you're going to get anything rejected. We have it all done at the outset to know that it will go through. But that's the Spanish Golden Visa here. Now, the benefits of the Spanish Golden Visa. So this will give you the right to live, work, and retire in Spain. It gives you the benefits that basically I have, where I'm here. I can work for any company I want. I can set up a business here. I can come and go as I please. If I go back to the UK, I don't have my passport stamped. If I travel across to Portugal, I don't need to do anything. I have my residency card. I can go across to France. And you have the right to live and work in Spain. Okay, you don't have to work, but you can do. So it makes it different to a lot of the other ways that you can apply for residency here. It gives you that full rights to live, work, and retire here. You can freely travel and stay within all of the 26 Schengen countries. Massive, massive benefit there. So you can just come and go as you please. You don't have any of these time restrictions. You don't get your passport stamped. They're not sort of tracking you in terms of this. You can move around as you wish. So even if at the moment, Spain is not where you want to necessarily be, but you think further down the line you're going to want to do it, then it is worth looking at it, because you can travel around, you have a holding asset, a holding investment, and that in itself will allow you to travel visa-free around these 26 Schengen countries and come and go from Spain as you will. You can actually establish a business in any of these Schengen countries as well. So not just Spain. If you wanted to set up a business somewhere else, you could do. This is going a little bit down the investment routes now. We can always talk this through with you in more detail if you're interested in doing anything. But you actually there are some sort of tax benefits in being Spain. So it's very much a difference between being a golden visa or a resident of a country and being a tax resident. So Spain has a system which you might have heard of called the Beckham's Law, which is a way that you can actually get preferential tax treatment on your worldwide assets. So there are various tax benefits anyway, just to sort of keep it simple in being in Spain. And I mentioned before, you get access to world-class free healthcare. So it's ranked 7th globally by the World Health Organization. So it's a very strong free healthcare system that you would become a part of by being a golden visa holder. Okay. I put this slide in myself actually in terms of we've been through a lot of this, but it's just maybe to break some of the myths and sort of replace them with facts. Okay, so we've covered a lot of this, but just some of the myths that I hear of people is with regards to the Spanish golden visa is that you have to spend time in Spain to maintain residency. Incorrect. There is no visit nor minimum stay requirements in Spain to have your golden visa. You don't have to be here at all if you don't want to. Okay. Only residential real estate qualifies as an investment to give you the golden visa. Not at all. You actually, any type of real estate can qualify. So that could be commercial, that could be residential. It could even be parking spots, garages, that sort of thing. If it's a property, if it's physical land or property, it does qualify as long as you meet the minimum 500,000. Okay. As I said, we can do it for 350, but 500,000 is the minimum. I will say at this point as well, when it comes to the Spanish golden visa, we concentrate very much on commercial more than other areas. And there is a reason for that. So when we look at Portugal golden visa or Greece golden visa, residential is actually a very good way of doing it. It's very cost effective and there are lots of opportunities. But if you're thinking with your head in terms of what's the best way to do it in Spain, commercial is better than residential for a number of reasons. Namely, the tax is a lot less than what you do if you do residential. It's a lot more safe in terms of rental and ongoing costs. And I'll come on to this anyway in a few slides' time. But commercially, it's definitely the way to look for when you come to Spain. However, obviously, you can do residential. You can do parking garages if you so wish. One myth here is you have to buy one property of at least 500,000. No. It can be any amount of properties as you like. So you can have lots of smaller properties to make up the 500,000 should you so wish. There are limitations in where you can invest. No, there are no limitations at all. Okay. You can invest anywhere in Spain. And that includes the Balearic and the Canary Islands. When it comes to the opportunities we look at, we tend to look around Barcelona and Madrid for very obvious reasons. It's lots of very good investment opportunities there, very safe, very secure. Again, low taxes there as well. But actually, you can go anywhere in terms of Spain for the golden visa. Next one, the process is long and vague. No, it's actually the fastest process amongst all the EU programs. So once you've actually got everything in place in terms of your investment, you can actually have your residency issued within 21 days of submission. So even though the Spanish system can be slow, they've actually really sort of pulled their fingers out with actually making sure this is done quickly for people who are looking to apply. Next one, the Spanish program is expensive. No. So aside from the amount you need to do to get your golden visa, it's not. The additional costs are minimum. So, for example, your TIE, which is your tax number that you get, is 73 euros. When you come to renew your card, such as this, it's 70 odd euros to do. You're not suddenly going to be billed because you need to renew your residency card in 3 years, another 2,000-3,000. No, you don't need a minimum amount in the bank or anything like that to continue to have your golden visa. Not at all. Not if you do the golden visa route. And the next one, you have to live in Spain for 10 years to qualify for citizenship. So remember what I was saying earlier, residency, citizenship? Not at all. Normally, it's 10 years for people like myself and for a lot of people. So you live here 10 years or resident here for 10 years, you can apply to become a citizen. But if you are former Spanish colonies, you can get your citizenship within 2 years. And also that includes the spouse, even if they are not. So for example, if you had an American married to a Mexican, because obviously the Mexican is the ex-Spanish colony, then they could get the citizenship within 2 years and obviously tag the partner there, in that case, the USA, which I think takes an extra year for them. But give or take, you're talking a citizenship program in incredibly quick time compared to a lot of the other programs that are out there. So that's just some of the sort of facts about the Spanish golden visa. The Spanish passport. So this is if you did become a Spanish citizen. So we're sort of fast forwarding a bit here. Maybe it's not so much why people are here watching this, but just to give you a brief sort of outline. In terms of the ex-Spanish colonies, which I spoke about, you've got the list of the countries here. So you've got Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Equatorial Guinea, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, the Philippines, Uruguay, and Venezuela. And actually, in addition, you've got Andorra and Portugal, weirdly enough. But Andorra and Portugal, you would be unlikely to apply for the Spanish golden visa because you would already pretty much have the same rights, being that you've got, an EU citizenship yourself. But they're the ones that are particularly good for these people in terms of if you wanted a passport. So very, very quick way of doing it. If you did want a Spanish passport, whether that be in 2 years or 10 years, you have to do a language test, which is relatively basic, but most countries would have that. If you'd been there for that period of time, you'd expect that you would have basic language skills. And mine are pretty terrible, and I've been here 5 years, but I'd hope if I'd been here 10 years, that would be doable here. You do a cultural exam as well, so you need to make sure you know about the culture. Again, if you're living here for a period of time, you would know that. 2 years for ex-colony, or 5 years if not ex-colony. What this means is, although it's after 10 years of being a resident, you can apply to become a citizen of Spain. You have to have actually physically lived here for 5 years if you're going to become a citizen. So let's say you get to the last 5 years, you need to spend more than half the year in Spain of then 5 years in order to become a citizen. And you can understand that from their point of view. They want people to want to be in this country and not just apply for citizenship with no connection. The Spanish passport is actually the third best passport in the world, ranked the third best. So the amount of travel it allows you to do, it's 190 different countries you can go to visa free once you have the Spanish passport. And you can live and work anywhere in the EU. Okay, so incredibly good from that point of view. So as I say, your residency can lead to your citizenship, and your citizenship is effectively your passport. Okay. So we go back to investment options here. Okay, so these are what we spoke about at the beginning, the different ways you can do your investments to the Golden Visa program. So first of all, you can do real estate for 500,000. Okay, that's the minimum amount you need in real estate. As I say, we can do it for 350,000, and I'll come on to that. The other way you do it is you buy equity in a business of 1 million euros, obviously significantly more expensive. You can deposit in a bank account or investment fund €1 million. Again, it's a difficult one for a lot of people to achieve. Or you can do government bonds for 2 million, which again is probably the least popular way of doing it. Okay, but they're the different investment options you have. Now, this is what I was speaking about earlier, and this is talking more specifically now about what we can do and what we can do for you. Okay, when you're looking at getting the Spanish Golden Visa, you can go down the residential route, or you can go down the commercial route. Now, the commercial route is here at the top, okay? So first and foremost, doing the commercial route is that you have lower transfer taxes. So if you do a residential property, your taxes are going to be between 8 and 11.5% on a 500,000 investment, okay? Residential investment. If you do commercial, it's more like 1.5%, 2.5%, which actually saves you around 40,000 euros doing commercial. Okay. You also get long-term leases, and the tenants will cover most of the expenses. So when you actually have this, remember, we would identify the business, we would do all that side for you. Once that is tenanted, which we would make sure it was and look after for you, the tenants will cover most of your expenses. Okay. So it's the ongoing costs are very, very cheap. Okay. Your average rental yield of a commercial property is normally around 4 to 5%. Okay, so normally around 5%. Actually, a lot of the ones we look at. If you're looking at residential property, the rental yield is around 2.5, 2 to 3%. So where I put here, commercial has higher rental returns. It can use your rental money to live in a €1 million property. Look at it like this. If somebody's got an interest in Spain, if you look at a commercial asset that's managed for you, so you don't worry about it, it's effectively a compliance, what we call a compliance asset. So that asset sits there to allow you to have the Golden Visa. You can actually use the rental yield of that to actually get yourself effectively double the value of the property by renting. So by actually using that rental money to rent property yourself, because it's a higher rental yield and a lot more than what the residential rental yield is, you technically can be in a lot better property yourself. And then it gives you the opportunity to then move around Spain, find out where you want to live. Because at any point you can sell a commercial asset and you can then get your residential, but that commercial asset being held, it get you the Golden Visa. We do the full service on this as well. So any commercial asset, we would identify it, we would manage it, we would run it for you, we would complete your tax returns for you. You effectively just hold that asset while we do everything else. There's lots of different opportunities there. The other option we offer is the 350,000 sale leaseback option. So this is our unique scheme that we've introduced to help people who don't have the 500,000. Now, the idea of this is obviously the minimum investment still remains 500,000 in Spain. But what we do is if a client will invest 350,000, we will immediately pay the equivalent of 10 years rental income up front. So that comes to 150,000. So that's effectively 3% per annum. So it's a little bit less than the average yield for a 500,000 property, but that's obviously because it is effectively a credit agreement that we're giving. But effectively, we're paying 3% per annum for 10 years up front, so the equivalent of 150,000 to add to your 350,000 to give you the 500,000 that you would need to qualify. And we would manage that property for you for 10 years. So it's really a very very cheap way of doing it. We can look at residential property, by the way, as well. So we're not saying we don't do that, but it is a lot more expensive. And that's why, as I say, if we were looking at Greece, if we're looking at Portugal, we would go down the residential route. Okay. But we're looking at Spain. The clever way of doing it, the way of doing it with your head and not your heart, is to look at commercial, okay, from an investment point of view, which is what it mentions there about it being an emotional decision. Okay. So the leaseback option, as I just explained how that works. So that is a 500,000 investment in a commercial property in Barcelona or Madrid. So the sort of properties we look at could be cafes, it could be bakeries, it could be small shops, it could be small bars or restaurants. Okay, we identify these investments. So normally Barcelona and Madrid is where we look at, and the main sectors tend to be catering, retail, or office. We ensure these are all tenanted. We look after it. There's not any risk of that from our client's point of view. Once we've identified that, we will immediately pay 150,000 back up front to make that investment of 500,000. So your investment is only 350,000. We put the 150,000 towards it, which will give you your 500,000 that you need. And then you would get your golden visa, which will be within the 21 days, but obviously it's 60 days after we submit documents, because we need to obviously get the commercial property all ticked off and done and official, okay, which we do. As I say, we do all the paperwork for that. But that's the example of these leaseback options, the leaseback option with Spain. We also offer, and this is, sort of explained, we also offer a guaranteed buyback scheme as well if you hold the investment for 10 years. Now, a lot of people think, well, I won't necessarily want to hold a commercial asset for 10 years. Well, you obviously don't have to. You can go out of that commercial asset sooner than that. That's completely up to you. But what we actually guarantee for everybody is that we will guarantee the 350,000 back after 10 years if you hold that property. So that just alleviates any worry of if anything disastrous happened in the housing market. If you held that commercial asset for 10 years, we would buy it back off you for the 350,000. So you would get that money back. So there is no risk to your investment. So you can effectively have the golden visa, park your money there, leave it there, and in 10 years, know that you would 100% get it back. In reality, the best way to do it would likely be to sell the asset on the open market after 10 years. So after 10 years, you're far more likely to make more money by selling it. But that the guaranteed buyback is just a way of giving you peace of mind. Option 3, after 10 years, if you wanted to, you can just maintain ownership of the asset and continue to collect the rents, which is what people would do as well. So you have different options at the end of 10 years. And before 10 years, well, quite frankly, you can sell the asset as well. There is a guaranteed buyback if before 10 years, but again, it's a lower amount of money, and it simply would be better to sell on the open market if that's the case. But again, we would organize all that for you. You've got to look at this as an investment as well. At the end of the day, if you want to sell this investment early, you can do. The property market, commercial property market, can do incredibly well. So that in itself can be an incredibly good investment. But these are just ways that we help people achieve what they're looking to do for less money. The other option is the simple 500,000 option. So that's not using any of these buyback schemes or anything like that. We will identify these commercial properties. Now, this is an example of one. There's many ones we have, which we would go through with you. We would go through all the different opportunities, the cash flows, how they work. But it's an example of one we've done here in Madrid. Now, the price of it was 600,000 euros for this one. The brand was a book called Bipolar. It was a restaurant, and the rental on it, which was paying a client, is a little over 3,000 euros a month. That money then could be used to actually rent a house anywhere in Spain. And as I said before, that commercial asset is paying this rent, which allows you to move around. At any point, if you wanted to sell the commercial asset, of course you can do. You sell the asset, and you can then maybe use that money to buy a property. But it gives you that flexibility of not being tied down to one place. So that is merely an example of one. We have a list of lots and lots and lots, and it's constantly changing because we're always trying to identify what the best opportunities are. Okay, so that is the different schemes that we have. I won't go through all the different ones we have because simply we'll just be there for a long, long time. Okay, so that is the Spanish Golden Visa in a nutshell. Okay, and hopefully that sort of answered a lot of your questions about it and how it works. If you want to book an appointment, if you scan that QR code there, you can book into my diary directly if you want to ask sort of some more personal questions to yourself, or you can by all means email me here, sam.danes@holbornassets.com. There's my telephone number there. I'm on WhatsApp, so you can obviously find me on there. So any of the ways you want to do that, we will send you a copy of the webinar as well, so you can actually get that QR code and book yourself in. But that's it in a nutshell. So you're looking at an investment of 500,000, a traditional investment, say through commercial for 500,000. You can do it for as little as 350,000 as well, if you so wish. And there are so many benefits, if you like, from having the Spanish Golden Visa. So that's it, kind of, as I say, in a nutshell here. If anyone's got any questions, and obviously fire them to me. I've got a few here that came through before about the real estate investment opportunities. As I said before, we can go through that with you. So if anybody wants to know what ones are out there, then we can talk that through with you. Even if it is residential, we can look at that as well. But particularly with commercial opportunities, then we can do that. In terms of residency stay requirements, somebody sort of asked a question here, but as I say, there isn't any minimum residency stay requirements, so you can stay as little as long as you want. And in terms of the investment numbers, again, someone was asked that earlier, but we've kind of gone through that. The cheapest way to get your Spanish Golden Visa will always be through the property investment. As I say, commercial property would be the more logical one to do in terms of being a better investment. But obviously we can talk that through with you. So please, as I say, book in, have an appointment if you so wish. And I can talk about your own personal situation because I know there'll be so many different situations there. But hopefully that's covered most of what you're looking for. And thank you everyone for joining. Take care.